Hello, Fish Faithful. This is Marlins Daily on the Fan Arch Network. I am Kurt Semder, and the Marlins have won their third series in a row, and they are cooking right now, and it did not look like it was going to be that way when the weekend started, but whew, a good weekend in Cincinnati. It worked out well for them in the end. So Marlins are sitting there pretty right now, 3 games over 500. And still 3 games back of Philly and San Diego for those wild card spots. But all you can do is win series, and the Marlins got it done this weekend, taking 2 of 3 from the Reds, a team that's behind them in the standings, still has some very slim wild card hopes of their own, but the Marlins gave those hopes quite a dashing this weekend. So, listen, big weekend. It really was. It was a successful weekend. There were some good things. There were a couple of bad things, but the end result is really what matters here. And the Marlins using some, late game heroics to really get things done. As I mentioned, the series did not start off well. If you watched the show last week, I was seeing red, for lack of a better term, at the fact that our good friend Jacob Marcy was batting leadoff. And they trotted him back out into the leadoff spot on Friday, and not blaming him for it, but it was just more of the same in that lineup where they just didn't get anything done. Now, they were facing an excellent pitcher in Chase Burns, and he lived up to the hype in this game, facing off with Sandy Alcantara, who lived up to the hype himself. The difference being that, Chase Burns was just a tiny, tiny bit better in this game. Both pitchers went 7 innings. Sandy gave up just 3 hits, only had 2 strikeouts, and gave up just the 1 run, an RBI double to Eugenio Suarez in the 6th inning. Chase Burns, on the other hand, didn't give up anything. In fact, Marlins barely got anything going on at all in this game against him. I think they got a runner to second base once in this one. Just 4 hits in what ended up being their 7th shutout of the season. So they get off to a bad start, coming off of the blowout game against the Pirates. That's 2 losses in a row. And again, the offense just was non-existent. Yes, facing a tough pitcher, but unable to get anything done and unable to get anything started. And then Saturday rolls around, and Clayton McCullough rolled out a very similar lineup with a good friend, Jacob Marcy, back at the top of the lineup. And I am big enough to admit that Jacob had a great game on Saturday. So I give him all the credit in the world because he really stepped it up. I hope it's the start of something bigger for him, but I'm not so sure. But you'll take the wins where you can get them. And this was a big win for him. He goes 4 for 4 in this game, including a home run that put the Marlins out in front 1-0 on Saturday. And, the team went a little bit back and forth. Joe Mack hit a home run in this game, his 12th of the season, put them back in front 2-1. But the Marlins did fall behind on Saturday again and found themselves in a situation where it looked like they were going to lose their 3rd straight game and lose the first 2 games of this series. But that 8th inning was huge. Some really, really big hits in a 4-run 8th inning. Heriberto Hernandez continues to just have a tremendous season for this team, a 2-run double in the inning. Griffin Conine continuing to swing a hot bat. He had an RBI single. They scored 4 runs in the inning, took the lead, and went on to win from there 8-4. That seemed to get them back on the right track, got the confidence back up. That carried through into Sunday. At least you were hoping it would carry through into Sunday. You had Yuri Perez on the mound, and he has just been excellent as of late. And he ended up facing off against Nick Lodolo, who, he's had success against the Marlins in the past. He is a lefty, so we know lefties give this team fits. Clayton McCullough decided to shake up the lineup a little bit here, putting a lot of righties in the lineup, stacking the top of the lineup with righties, moved Marcy down in the lineup, which, regardless of the 4 for 4, I think is the way you got to go with him. And the result was that the offense still didn't get anything done. I mean, this game was 0-0 heading to the 8th inning. There really wasn't a lot of offense in this game whatsoever. Blame that on the bats, if you will, but also give some credit to Yuri Perez, who continues to be sensational. He had 5 walks in this game, which would be concerning, but he was able to work around those, going through 6 innings. The team came through big in the clutch late once again. Hernandez, got one just over the left field wall in the eighth inning to get the scoring started. His 18th home run of the season. Agustin Ramirez, huge hit in the ninth inning. You love to see it. He is really starting to put it together at the plate. And this probably was one of his biggest hits of his young career. 2-run double that put them ahead 4-1. Javier Sanoja, who last time we talked about him was pitching an inning and a third of relief in a blowout against the Pirates. Here, his late game action did not involve pitching. Instead, it was a 3-run blast in that ninth inning that put the game out of reach. So the Marlins win the game 7-1. They get 2 out of 3 from Cincinnati. They win their third straight series. And look at this. The Marlins are right where we thought they'd be, or at least right where they were a week ago. They are 3 games out of the final wild card spot. They have now won, I believe it is 6 of their last 8 games, and they are playing much better. All of that said, they have some things they got to work on, and they got some things they got to work on heading into what is a tremendously important series that begins tonight in Philadelphia. And we're going to talk about that in just a second. But I want to focus on something else real quick that is positive, something that really is very good about what we've seen from this team lately, and that is the bullpen. The bullpen has been so good. We were worried about the bullpen at the trade deadline, what this team was going to do, if they were going to trade off a lot of their pieces, if they were going to retool at all. What they ended up doing, just, basically trading. They didn't trade them 1-for-1, but essentially Lake Bacher was out and Victor Vodnik was added in. And what this bullpen has been able to do since the trade deadline is just continue rolling along. The resurgence of Pete Fairbanks has been tremendous, and it has been such a big help to know that he can get things done and shut things down at the end of games. Got the save on Saturday night, and continues to pitch well. Michael Peterson's been really, really good, and he's started to become a lockdown eighth-inning setup man. He gave up a run late yesterday, but at that point, this game was 7-1, so I'm not going to get into him too much for that. But look, the bullpen numbers this past weekend were fantastic. 8 1/3 innings pitched. They gave up just 1 run. They had 11 strikeouts over those 8 innings. They kept the Reds from getting anything done. And in a ballpark like Cincinnati, where we've seen and we saw in this series that it's not difficult for someone to get a charge into one and hit a home run, you got to keep guys off the bases. And the Marlins were able to do that, not just from their starters, but the bullpen in a big way. And that kept them from getting hurt too badly. And it kept them in a lot of these games and gave them a chance to pull off the late game heroics that they did, both on Saturday and on Sunday. So give the bullpen a lot of credit. Give Clayton McCullough some credit here for the way he has handled this bullpen and found the right spot for the right pitcher most of the time, at least as of late. So give them credit. Like I said, I'll give the Pittsburgh game at the end of the series as a blip on the radar because the bullpen did well in the earlier 2 games of that series as well. So as long as his bullpen continues to pitch really well, you've got that 1-2 at the back in Peterson and Fairbanks. You've got a 1-2 at your starting rotation in Sandy and Uri. You got something going here pitching-wise. Just got to piece the rest of it together here and get a little bit of offense, and you might have something that you can really bank on here over the last 6 weeks of the regular season, which is what we're entering now. So again, give the bullpen a ton of credit for what has just been a great stretch for them. Now, what does this team need to work on? Well, this team is swinging and missing and striking out entirely too much. And one of the phrases I hear constantly after all these games from the team, from their manager, is they're having good at-bats. Well, okay. And in games where you score 8 runs or 7 runs in the last 2 games, majority of those runs scored in the last 2 innings of the game. The rest of the game, they didn't do anything. And especially Friday, they didn't do anything. 16 innings, basically, if you put it together between Friday and Sunday, where the offense was non-existent. And we're unable to get anything done, again, in a ballpark that, you could accidentally hit a home run if you just put the bat on the ball with a little bit of power. What worries me is the strikeouts. There's just too many. And again, this is a problem not just with the Marlins. This is a problem all across baseball. Guys strike out way too much. But 11 strikeouts on Friday when they were shut out. 8 strikeouts each in their wins on Saturday and Sunday. So 27 strikeouts. You're averaging 9 strikeouts a game through these 3 games in Cincinnati. They got to bring that number down. They got to be a little bit more patient at the plate. They got to pick their spots, and it helps to have the right guys in the lineup who are kind of getting into a groove. But I really think that they need to be a little bit more patient at the plate, and what that will do is get them better pitches, and they will get better contact. And more importantly, they won't strike out as much because the strikeouts kill you. You get nothing from the strikeouts. You don't advance a runner. You don't put the pressure on the defense. You don't do anything. And 27 strikeouts through 3 games is not going to help you and not going to get it done. And when you're facing some of the bigger pitchers in the National League, which they're going to coming up very soon, including starting tonight, patience at the plate is going to be key. So not calling out anybody individually on this one. This is the offense as a whole. Everybody's just got to be a little bit more patient and try to cut down on the strikeouts and just go with what the pitcher gives you. When I'm watching Sunday's game there, and Nick Lodolo is pitching, he is working the outside of the plate most of the time, and you see certain hitters, you see Otto Lopez, you see, Xavier Edwards, you see Agustin Ramirez, you see guys take that pitch and go to the opposite field. That's patience. That's what we're talking about at the plate. When you see guys like in that first inning, for example, you see Heriberto Hernandez or other players, you see guys hit the ball, trying to pull the pitch on the outside corner because they're trying to pull it and trying to get pull happy. Well, you end up grounding into double plays, and you end up swinging and missing, putting yourself in bad counts, and end up striking out. So work with what the pitcher's given you, and that'll help this team a lot, which, again, this is a team that needs to put together a couple of hits in order to score runs most of the time. Outside of Griffin Conine and outside of Heriberto Hernandez, there's not a lot of power you can count on that's going to just come through all the time. But there are positive signs with some of the guys who we've talked about who have come up big. I think Agustin Ramirez is really starting to step it up, and I really like to see seeing what he's doing up there. And let's see what Mr. Marcy can do. Let's just see. 4 for 4 on Saturday. Let's see if we can carry this through to what is a huge series, a huge series that begins tonight. The Marlins are in Philadelphia for 3 games, and look, you don't need to, be a rocket scientist to figure this out. The Marlins are 3 games behind the Phillies for the last wild card spot. They play them 3 times right now in Philly. Sweep the Phillies, you're tied for the wild card spot. It's that simple. It sounds easy, but it's not, and it's not going to be easy. The pitching matchups are not really in the Marlins' favor, so the offense is going to have to figure out a way to break through, and their pitching is going to need to really continue to step it up, especially in the bullpen. They're going to need to continue the streak that they've been on. Tonight, Jansen Jung's going to be taking the mound, and he will be facing off with Christopher Sanchez, an NL Cy Young candidate who doesn't seem to give up anything ever, and on top of that, he is a lefty. And we mentioned it time and time again. Lefties give this team fits. So I wouldn't be surprised if they drop the first game of the series tonight. But if they can somehow figure out a way to keep this game close, tied, maybe even in front by a run, who knows, but just get to the bullpen, get to the late innings, maybe they can pull something off again like they did at home when they swept the Phillies last month. That series was going one way, and then they came back against Duran and got the big win, and it all kind of steamrolled from there. Might need something like that to happen here again. And this is the last time they play the Phillies this season. So this is your last chance to gain ground on them on your own, to control your own destiny with this team. The rest of the series, the rest of the way, we think Tyler Phillips will pitch on Tuesday against Zach Wheeler, another tough matchup. And maybe you just, if you're not going to get a sweep, at least get one of those first 2 games. You can throw Sandy out there. He'll be on the mound on Wednesday against Aaron Nola. That pitching matchup is probably the best lined up for the Marlins. So, tough matchup ahead, facing a lineup that is stacked. This Phillies lineup is stacked. They have been finding their way to hit. Kyle Schwarber continues to seemingly hit 2 home runs a game every other day. And they are a good team. And they are a team that has designs on making it to the postseason. They're not going to make it easy for the Marlins, but this is what it's all about. This is why you play these seasons, to get to this point and give yourself a chance. And the Marlins have given themselves a chance. They are 3 games back of the wild card with 6 weeks left to go in the season. And each week that goes by, we keep waiting for this team to drop out of it. We keep waiting for this team to go on another losing streak and find themselves 5, 6 games out of the wild card, and it doesn't happen. Now, this is a huge series in the sense also that you can't get swept. They get swept by the Phillies, you suddenly find yourself, as I just mentioned, 6 games out. That's going to be tough to climb out of. So, big series here. Got to at least get 2 out of 3 from the Phillies here, and do not get swept. And if you could somehow figure out a way to sweep this team, we really got something fun to talk about. But we are going to take a look at this entire series this week in depth, see how things go. Hopefully the offense finds a way to get it done against one of the best pitchers in baseball in Christopher Sanchez tonight. We'll see what happens in that game, and we'll see what happens, of course, going forward with the rest of the week. Going to be a big week here on Marlins Daily, so make sure you like and subscribe and stick with us right here on YouTube, and I will see you all tomorrow.